10. Henry Ford, $199 billion. As an American, Henry Ford had a unique perspective on industrialization as the guy behind the iconic Ford Motor Company. When he created the Ford T, one of the first gasoline-powered automobiles, he sold more than 16 million. He credited the world with the Fordism concept, which entails mass production at minimal cost via an assembly line. As one of the world's wealthiest men, he gave a large portion of his money to the Ford Foundation, which manages it today. His net worth was put at $199 billion. 9. Muammar Gaddafi, $200 billion. In 2011, the death of the former Libyan colonel and ruler shocked the globe. While the Libyan people were living in poverty, he proclaimed himself king and displayed his wealth to the whole African continent. For the previous 41 years, he enjoyed unrestricted access to Africa's greatest oil reserves, allowing his bank accounts to grow at an incredible rate. Gaddafi's personal fortune was estimated at about $200 billion at the time of his death in various banks across the world and in oil interests in Libya. 8. William the Conqueror, $229.5 billion. William the Conqueror, who reigned as King William I of England from 1066 to 1087, invaded and conquered England throughout his lifetime. He amassed vast amounts of territory and wealth, from the Sussexes to the Yorkshires, and defeating Earl Harold Godwinson in the Battle of Hastings in 1066. To make matters worse, he'd done nothing except conquer nations and build his empires in order to accumulate money. Before his death, he gave his children $229.5 billion. That's massive, huh? 7. Mir Osman Ali Khan, $230 billion. Apparently, Mir Osman Ali Khan had 50 Rolls-Royces and kept diamonds as a paperweight in his office. He was also known as Nizam of Hyderabad. Until India seized the kingdom, he was one of the 7 Nizams, a hereditary ruler that controlled Hyderabad. More than $400 million in jewelry belonged to him, including the famed Jacob diamond. How much is this currently worth? It's now worth $95 million. His personal gold collection was worth over $100 million. He had an estimated net worth of over $230 billion at the time of his death. 6. Nikolai Alexandrovich Romanov, $300 billion. Known as Nicholas II, the last Russian emperor, as well as King of Poland and Grand Duke of Finland, Nikolai Alexandrovich Romanov is another man who's gone into the history books as one of the richest people that ever existed. As Russian emperor from 1894 to 1917, he was overthrown by Bolshevik revolutionaries and his family was killed. As of 2012, Tsar Nicholas II's net worth was estimated at approximately $900 million, which is almost $300 billion today. The Russian Orthodox Church has canonized him, making him the richest saint in human history, with a fortune of $300 billion. 5. John D. Rockefeller, $341 billion. What is Rockefeller known for? Famous oil mogul John Davison Rockefeller was in charge of 90% of the flow of black gold, oil, during the 20th century. He was 97 when he passed away in 1937. When the Standard Oil Company was founded in 1889, it was one of the largest oil companies in America. During that period, he controlled 90% of the world's oil supply. John D. Rockefeller was also the first person to raise $1 billion in private capital. Using today's dollars, his fortune would be almost $341 billion. After the First World War, he contributed $250 million of his own money to the Rockefeller Foundation, which he founded. 4. Andrew Carnegie, $372 billion. Does that name sound familiar? Andrew Carnegie was a Scottish-American industrialist and philanthropist who acquired his wealth in the 19th century and died in 1919. The Carnegie Steel Company was founded by Andrew Carnegie after he left the oil sector to Rockefeller. At the time, his fortune was reported to be $372 billion. More than 1,600 public libraries in the United States were erected using his money, and that's why the name might be familiar. He thought it was necessary to put money into education. Therefore, he poured millions of dollars into it in the United States. As a selfless philanthropist, Andrew gave away 90% of his wealth to charities, colleges, and other organizations before his death. 3. Akbar I. As India's third Mughal ruler from 1556 to 1605, Akbar I was known as Akbar the Great. He ruled an area roughly the size of modern-day India, and he was responsible for 25% of the world's GDP. How is this even possible? In the Mughal era, the Mansardar system was employed. Each area had a designated officer to collect land revenue. Depending on the extent of the province, the emperor may demand warriors in exchange for this money. Akbar had a lot of flexibility because these officers were not picked according to their ancestry. The emperor was able to collect taxes from the 15 provinces he ruled because of the empire's position as a tax collector. This guy was so rich that it's close to impossible to have his exact net worth. 2. Augustus Caesar, $4.6 trillion. After his father Julius Caesar's death in 27 BC, Augustus ruled over all of the Roman Empire, including Egypt. When Rome went from being a republic to an empire, he was one of the most effective commanders in the process. But how did he make such an amount during those ages? As the architect of the Roman peace, he was able to capture control of a kingdom that at the time amounted to 25 to 30% of global GDP. Aside from that, his net worth is estimated to be approximately $4.6 trillion. 1. Mansa Musa. Who was Mansa Musa? It was widely accepted that Mansa, who ruled the Malian Empire from 1280 to 1337, was the wealthiest man in history. It's true that he had the know-how to take Timbuktu and open up the key trans-Saharan commercial routes to Niger. From 1280 until his death in 1337, while he was still alive, he was known as the King of Timbuktu for influencing the city's economy and culture. But how did he get so rich? He controlled the Bambouk gold mines, which produce more than half of the world's gold today. He was so rich that his total net worth can't be estimated in today's money.